In southern Taiwan, a plan to build a Silicon Valley officially begins.
全中华民国、全台湾到底有谁觉得柯文哲会逃亡？
Former Taipei Mayor Ko Wen-je is back in detention just 1 week after being released on bail. In South Korea, an attempt to arrest impeached President Yoon Suk Yeol is suspended. Plus, Taiwan's plans to import milk from New Zealand face pushback from local dairy farmers. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Liao. A plan to connect multiple tech hubs to create a Silicon Valley in Taiwan has been given the go-ahead by the government. But skeptics remain concerned about the strain it will put on resources, in particular water. Here's Joyce Tseng with more.
Taiwan is hailing a major milestone for its tech sector. The government has officially launched a plan to link 4 major tech parks in the south and integrate efforts pushing new AI technologies. Given the shape, it's been called the S Corridor, connecting tech parks in Jiayi, Tainan, Kaohsiung, and Pingtung. At the opening ceremony, President Liao said the corridor would help Taiwan move beyond just manufacturing most of the world's advanced chips.
我们不能够只卖设备啊，我们要有能力卖 solution 卖系统整合。除了卖以外，我们还要自己能够用啊，建立起台湾使用人工智慧科技的文化，这样台湾才会强。
A big question, though, is how Taiwan will find the resources, in particular water, for this new Silicon Valley. One tech park in Kaohsiung alone consumes about 60,000 tons of water on average each day. To meet the S Corridor's needs, Taiwan's tech ministry has laid out plans to connect reservoirs in the south, a drought-prone region. The Water Resources Agency told TaiwanPlus that there's a surplus of about 400,000 tons of water a day in the region from various sources that's available for the project. This remapping of the country's resources reflects the project's scale and Taiwan's drive to lead in the global AI race. Fu Huahong, Eason Pan, and Joyce Zhen for TaiwanPlus.
Former Taipei Mayor Ko Wen-je's team is gearing up to appeal once again for his release from detention, as the 65-year-old politician was taken back into custody following a back and forth between prosecutors, the High Court, and the District Court. Tiffany Wong reports from the Taipei Detention Center.
Former Taipei Mayor Ko Wen-je is back in detention just a week after being released on bail for corruption charges. Prosecutors say that he and other defendants could try to collude with each other electronically. The Taipei District Court has now gone back on their previous judgment that Ko and others would not interfere in the investigation while out on bail, agreeing with prosecutors that they do present a flight risk and could try to destroy evidence or even collude with each other. And now they're sending him back to detention incommunicado. During his third bail hearing that lasted 5 hours on Thursday, Ko asked prosecutors for a list of people he should not contact while out on bail and said that prosecutors were targeting him. The Taiwan People's Party, which is the third force opposition party that Ko founded, said Ko was being bullied by prosecutors and that the court was being influenced by President Liao, who leads the ruling Democratic Progressive Party. They've now called for a nationwide protest on Justices Day, which is January 11th.
全中华民国、全台湾到底有谁觉得柯文哲会逃亡？你脑袋有洞吗？检察官在申请羁押柯文哲的过程当中，他们那一种恶质的伎俩，我老实讲，连法官都被惹毛了。
Ko had already been held incommunicado since September when prosecutors were given time to investigate, going through his phone records and computer files and compiling a 190-page indictment. He was released only last week on a bail of nearly $1 million after being charged with corruption, including accepting bribes and embezzling political funds related to his alleged involvement in a real estate deal when he was mayor and for mishandling political funds during his run for president last year. Prosecutors appealed immediately after, and the high court revoked the lower court's decision, hiking his bail to $2 million and requiring him to wear an ankle monitor. Ko's team is ready to appeal, and they must do so within 10 days. Otherwise, they may not see Ko for several months. Justin Wu and Tiffany Wong at the Taipei Detention Center for TaiwanPlus.
Dramatic scenes unfolded on the streets of Seoul on Friday as authorities aborted an attempt to arrest impeached President Yoon Suk Yeol. A president impeached, now resisting arrest. South Korean police officers arrived in force at the country's presidential residence in the early hours of Friday morning to detain suspended leader Yoon Suk Yeol, who was removed for suddenly enacting martial law last month.
저는 북한 공산 세력의 위협으로부터 자유 대한민국을 수호하고 우리 국민의 자유와 행복을 약탈하고 있는
But police faced a tough task in even getting to Yoon, with supporters of the impeached president vowing to block the arrest as they surround the presidential compound.
윤석열 대통령은 여태까지 국가의 법을 지켜왔고 저자들은 국가의 법이 없습니다. 대한민국은 지금 무법천지가 되어가고 있습니다. 이런 상황에서 국민의 한 사람으로서 도저히 그냥 이 자리를 묵고 할 수 없어서 이 자리에 찾아왔습니다.
Yoon's lawyer has also called the arrest attempt unlawful, saying they will challenge any attempt to bring the president in. And beyond the protesters, two more obstacles complicated efforts to detain Yoon: a military unit tasked with protecting the presidential residence and Yoon's personal security detail. Local media reported that police successfully negotiated with the military and made it to Yoon's door. But corruption officials deemed the arrest impossible and called off the effort, marking more turmoil in an increasingly unstable government. Klein Wong and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus. Investigators have identified the man who blew up a Tesla Cybertruck outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Police say the suspect was an active duty member of the U.S. Army's Special Forces stationed in Germany. Authorities say he shot himself before the explosion went off. They're still investigating the case. Traffic authorities are stressing the importance of seatbelts after 19 of the roughly 70 people who died on Taiwan's highways last year weren't properly buckled up. According to the Highway Police Bureau, more than 160,000 seatbelt violations were reported last year. Officials are reminding people to wear their seatbelts and pay attention to safety when they hit the road for the Lunar New Year holiday. Millions of people are expected to travel across Taiwan over the break at the end of January. Taiwan is set to begin importing milk tariff-free from New Zealand, but there are concerns about the impact the imports could have on domestic dairy production. Chelsea Wu reports.
Keep local milk in Taiwan's schools. That's the message this group of parents and teachers hope the government will heed after it suspended a program that provided school kids nationwide with fresh milk from domestic dairy farms. They say the change hurts farmers, especially now milk imported tariff-free from New Zealand is making its way into Taiwan.
纽西兰这个牛乳零关税的这个议题啊，势必会打击甚至打垮本土的酪农啊，可能会衍生出新的家庭问题，甚至社会问题。
The new arrangement doesn't come as a surprise. Taiwan's local dairy industry has had over a decade to prepare for the end of its milk monopoly, after Taiwan and New Zealand signed a trade deal in 2013.
今年开始，各大乳品厂为了因应明年免关税的牛奶， 已经减量收购农民的牛奶，有可能明年会造成至少30%的酪农消失。
People within the industry fear the public will favor cheaper New Zealand milk over more expensive milk produced locally. An even bigger concern would be a decline in local milk being bought for use in popular drinks like bubble tea and lattes. And as milk prices in Taiwan continue to go up, consumers are starting to feel the pinch.
去日本的时候就觉得日本的牛奶还蛮便宜的，所以就会觉得台湾牛奶还比较高一点，是不知道啦，但是我觉得是比较贵。
我不会喝空运的其他国家便宜的牛奶，我会选择在地的，因为这个就是我们喝牛奶是为了它的营养，不是为了它的价钱。
Taiwan has the second most expensive milk in the world, at $2.95 for a liter of regular milk. A liter in New Zealand costs $1.69, and in the U.S. it's even cheaper, at a little over $1. Responding to these concerns, Taiwan's agriculture ministry is helping dairy farmers get more of their milk onto shelves. They're also looking to partner with drink shops, encouraging them to use more locally produced milk and put up signs indicating made in Taiwan products. Farmers in Taiwan say their milk is extra fresh, which is why it has a shorter shelf life compared to New Zealand's. But whether the freshness and quality can justify the high cost of Taiwan's milk will be up for shoppers to decide. Scott Huang and Chelsea Wu for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's labor pension fund has recorded record-breaking returns for the first 11 months of 2024. The fund earned over $31 billion between January and November last year, with individual workers potentially receiving an average dividend of just over $1,700. The Labor Ministry says the new labor pension fund contributed most of the profits, accounting for over $21 billion. The strong performance is being attributed to gains in global stocks and bond markets and strategic investments in AI-driven sectors. Coming up after the break, climate change takes its toll on Taiwan's persimmon farmers.
There's so many things that I wish the world could see.
It is amazing to watch this captain maneuver this giant ship.
It takes 3 days to cook this. The flavor is unbelievable, incredible.
And it's my turn to make something inspired by Chef Gore.
It's going to be quite a challenge. Can you imagine that?
It's surreal, yes, so real.
I can't give up. I got some ass kicking to do.
Nice move.
We're pushing each other to explore and experiment in new, different ways.
5, 4, 3, 2.
A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News.
Exploring the issues that matter to you.
Not just to Taiwan, the whole world is watching.
很多时候是我们眼睛看不到的地方。
We might encounter mishaps and mistakes along the way. But at the end of the day,
it just transmits something straight from the heart. Yes.
Cheers.
Bon appetit. It is about the fun, and it's about the glamour, and it's also about something much deeper than that.
Sometimes you just gotta seize the opportunity. You just gotta do it.
Have a place where you're appreciated for you exactly as you are, and where you can shine and be seen.
Thanks for watching TaiwanPlus. For more stories from the Pacific Island of Tuvalu and around the world, follow TaiwanPlus on social media.
We bring you stories from Taiwan.
Every day of the week.
Our reporters travel the nation.
Exploring the issues that matter to you.
News from here in Taiwan and around the world.
What's up, Taiwan? On TaiwanPlus.
Welcome back. You're watching Taiwan Plus News. Farmers have been growing and drying persimmons in Taiwan for centuries, with persimmon cakes especially popular during the Lunar New Year period. But climate change is threatening farmers and the centuries-old custom. Wesley Lewis has more.
Carrying on a time-honored tradition, 68-year-old Lu Lijian's family has been making persimmon cakes for over a century, here at their orchard in northern Taiwan. Every winter, they lay out pitted and flattened persimmons on circular wire racks to dry in the wind and sun, a traditional technique used by the country's ethnic Hakka community.
阿公的时候就开始在这边做个柿饼了到现在已经有100多年了。因为我们这边的气候比较特殊嘛，还有叫做新竹风，所以比较干燥。
It's in this region that 90% of Taiwan's dried persimmon cakes are processed. They're a popular gift, especially during Lunar New Year. Much of what Lu dries out comes from other farms, like that of Luo Zhineng, who delivers truckloads of the fruit nearly every day. But he says the past 12 months have been tough. Taiwan's persimmon growing season usually lasts from September to December. But in 2024, 2 powerful typhoons made landfall in October, a first in the country's recorded history, devastating Luo's livelihood.
损产状还是台风影响比较大啦，这个叶子太大了，你台风一吹，叶子就掉光了，叶子掉了，果粒就没有叶子，它就掉，果粒就掉了啊。
Luo says his crop yield has dropped by at least a third compared to previous years, losing him over $30,000 in revenue. What's more, he says warming temperatures meant some of his trees that withstood the typhoons didn't bloom and produce fruit. 2024 was Taiwan's hottest year on record, and agricultural officials say climate change will only continue to aggravate matters.
近几年来，我们也发现，在大环境的一个改变，甚至气候变迁或者是暖化的这样的一个大趋势之下，那有一些产区会做一些位移，那有一些产量会受到外界的大环境的这样的一个影响，来受到这个产量，不管是产量或者品质上的一个浮动。
To offset this year's deficit from the low fruit supply, Lu Lijian's family plan to sell dyes made from persimmon skins, and to even use the seeds and peels to make skincare products. Like other farmers, Lu continues to make do with what he can, earning a living by carrying out an age-old tradition, despite the looming threat of climate change. Howard Zhang and Wesley Lewis for Taiwan Plus.
U.S. President Joe Biden has decided to block Nippon Steel's takeover of U.S. Steel. That's according to the Washington Post. The $15 billion deal would have made the Japanese company the world's 3rd largest steel maker. The merger was opposed by labor unions, and Biden has said that he wants U.S. Steel to be domestically owned and run. President-elect Donald Trump had also said he would block the deal after he takes office this month. Japan is planning to buy 1,200 advanced anti-air missiles and other equipment from the U.S. worth more than $3.6 billion. In a notification to Congress, the U.S. says the sale hopes to improve the security and stability of the Indo-Pacific region. The missiles, known as AMRAAMs, are some of the most advanced in the world, capable of being used on fighter jets and missile defense systems to hit targets in the air. China has slapped sanctions on 10 U.S. defense firms over arms sales to Taiwan. Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and Boeing Defense are among the companies added to Beijing's unreliable entities list. They'll be restricted from doing business in China, and their executives barred from visiting the country. Beijing also banned the export of products such as drones and machine tools to 28 U.S. defense contractors. The 10 blacklisted companies had taken part in U.S. arms sales to Taiwan despite strong opposition from Beijing. Taiwan is planning to send more than 100 Air Force personnel to the U.S. for training as part of Washington and Taipei's unofficial security relationship. For more on how the U.S. and Taiwan cooperate on defense, Jaime Ocon spoke to Michael Hunsaker from George Mason University.
Can you explain how common is it for Taiwan to send military personnel to the United States for training?
So it's a long-standing practice for the United States that when we sell weapons to another country as part of the Foreign Military Sales or FMS program, that those weapons come along with training on how to actually operate the vehicle or the platform. So this is something the United States has long been doing. There's nothing particularly unusual or provocative about it. By way of example, 20-some years ago when I was still on active duty, I was part of an FMS sale of the amphibious assault vehicle, 50 of those to Taiwan. And as part of that package, Taiwan would send groups of officers over to the United States where I would help train them on how the vehicle operated. And we sent a team of Marines out to Kaohsiung, and they spent actually 6 months in Taiwan training enlisted personnel how to use the vehicle. So this is very standard for the course because American weapons can be somewhat complicated, and it would not be helpful to anybody to sell a weapon and then not make sure the partner knows how to use it.
What would you say is the biggest difference for Taiwan's military in terms of training? Why should Taiwan make the trip all the way to the United States?
I think there are probably two elements. The first simply is space. We have a lot more of it in the United States. Some of our smallest bases are probably larger in terms of the ability to actually get out and maneuver than the largest of facilities in Taiwan. The second piece, which I think does lend itself to change, but the change won't come quickly, is cultural. There's just a long-standing emphasis on decentralized decision-making in the United States, both in the military, but also culturally writ large. And one of the reasons I have thought it would make sense to send units to the United States is that allows these units and these leaders of the units to sort of break out of Taiwanese military culture, which we all know can be very hierarchical, very top-down, and put them in an environment where they're surrounded by U.S. units. And the fact that in the U.S., it is not just common, but actually expected that young officers and non-commissioned officers are going to make mistakes. And mistakes are part of that learning process. And if you don't make mistakes, then you can't learn to make decisions on your own. That's an important piece of modern warfare.
With Taiwan's military saying that it's going to be switching to more asymmetric weapons, these are smaller, more mobile systems, is Taiwan still going to need to increase its training?
One of the arguments for asymmetric weapons is that they don't require such large logistics trains and such large training packages, and that hopefully would give the United States and Taiwan additional flexibility. That said, I would always place out the caveat that I am just not yet convinced M&D is wholeheartedly buying into this concept of asymmetry, and I worry a great deal about absorptive capacity. The M&D just is not that large. The services in Taiwan aren't that large. These are large weapons that we've been selling. The 100 or so M1A2 Abrams that are arriving are a prime example. And so Taiwan is just going to have to divert a lot of personnel and a lot of capacity towards learning those weapons. And so are they really going to have the bandwidth left over to also simultaneously really, truly engage in mastering asymmetric warfare?
That was Associate Professor Michael Hunsaker from George Mason University. Golfers lose hundreds of mishit golf balls each week to pawns on the course. In Malaysia, a retired Navy veteran has turned this problem into a lucrative business. Sonia Schlesinger has more.
Saya buat macam saya cari biasa. Boleh bang. 51-year-old Sumadi Ibrahim is no stranger to murky waters. For 20 years, he spent his days diving off the Malaysian coast as a frogman in the country's Royal Navy. Now, retired from that, he dives to collect mishit golf balls in ponds at a course outside Kuala Lumpur.
Kawan-kawan cakap, kita buat part-time sebab bolehlah kita buat time untuk tambahkan lagi kan. Macam tu. Tu yang fikir macam tu je, tak adalah orang kata tak cukup, apa memang tak ada. Cuma suka-suka macam tu je. Niat asal macam tu.
Golf ball diving has been Sumadi's primary source of income for the last 10 years. He comes to the course 3 times a week, often waiting until dark to commence his underwater search, stuffing his findings into his shirt before emerging from the water and dumping them onto land.
Satu minggu kita boleh dapat dalam 1,200-1,300 biji satu minggu. Biasanya kalau saya turun 3 kali, satu hari 3 kali, dalam 500 biji, 600 biji, 3 kali satu hari lah kalau saya turun macam tu.
On Saturday morning, he sets up shop outside the course, selling the recycled balls for a fraction of the course's price per pack, earning nearly 8,000 Malaysian ringgit, or more than $1,700 per month, around 3 times Malaysia's median monthly salary. Some golfers at the course have jumped at the chance to buy from Sumadi.
I purchased my golf ball near the clubhouse because they usually sell second-hand balls because it's more economic way to play compared to buying new balls in the pro shop. Yeah.
Sumadi's customers aren't just considering costs when they buy from him. Golf has long been criticized as bad for the environment. Besides disrupting the natural ecosystem, course upkeep consumes vast amounts of water and requires pesticides. Also, golf ball synthetic materials release toxic chemicals. So for many, the recycled golf balls can present a more sustainable way to play.
If we buy a new ball and it goes in the lake or anything, it won't be retrieved until someone finds it. So that's why it's much better. I feel it's much better for the environment that we use a recycled ball than a new ball.
Though the environment isn't top of Sumadi's mind when he dives into these waters, he says he's glad to contribute in some small way to sustainability. And he intends to keep diving for as long as he can. Kama Shu and Sonia Schlesinger for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching Taiwan Plus News. You can visit the Taiwan Plus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Before we go, we're heading to London's aquarium for the annual count and clean of the over 30,000 sea creatures there. I'm Leslie Liao. Take care and see you next time.
For more stories from Peru and around the world, download the Taiwan Plus app.